Today is Tuesday, January 11th. Welcome to Slow Home Studio. My name is Matthew North.
And I'm John Brown, and today we're going to be talking about fireplaces. We got a question from Barry in Costa Mesa, who was responding to a discussion that we'd had a little bit earlier in the week about some fireplace details. So he says, I like your construction detail segments, and I watched the one about the underfloor heating from last week, and it all sounds so complicated. Don't you think a slow home should be about a return to simpler days? What about using a good old fireplace to heat the house? Well, that's a good question, and at some level you may be right that a fireplace is, on the surface at least, is a slower alternative. But at the same time, we have to be aware that we live in the 21st century. There are building codes, and particularly there are energy issues that we need to be aware of. And so we thought that it would be a good opportunity to just do a very quick review of some of the sustainability issues around fireplaces and how various types of fireplaces work. And I'm going to tell you about the traditional one, both what's good about them and also what the limitation is that we really have to be careful about. So here's a schematic of how a real fireplace works.
So this is a wood-burning fireplace.
This is a wood-burning fireplace. That's right. Real as in wood-burning. Sorry. It
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean it has to be masonry. So we've got this chimney, and we've got wood burning within that. This is open to the
room.
To the room, and it takes some of the combustion air, the air that's used that is combusted during the fire, is drawn in from the room, but the majority of it is coming in from the chimney. So you get this chimney effect, and the hot air goes out, and all works fairly well. So the problem then is what happens when you don't have a fireplace, when you don't have a fire going in your fireplace, because then what you've got is a great big opening with a direct connection to the outside, and all the warm air that you've got inside goes right up the flue.
Yeah, and the issue is that even though when the flue's closed, that's a weak point in the house because it's not thermally broken, there's no insulation on it.
It's like leaving a window open
it
in the
is
middle
like
of the house or your front door open. So really, that's the main issue that you have to have. You can solve that by sealing it with a glass front on top of the fireplace that you can then open when you actually use the fireplace. But it is something to be taken care of. And you wanted to talk about another type of fireplace.
Well, this is a wood-burning fireplace. I mean, this is why people really like them, of course, because they have that sort of
one.
You know, it's beautiful, and architecturally, you can detail them in such a way that makes them look very modern. I mean, it's such a great thing to have. But I think, like there is that technical issue. So of course now a lot of people are going towards the gas fireplace, and the thing that is good about the gas fireplace is there's a lot of flexibility with it in terms of where you can place it in the house. Plus, the intake and the outtake for the combustion air is controlled in a venting kit, and it's sealed so that there actually is no exchange of air between the house and the unit itself. And that allows you to do all sorts of stuff as well. And this is a house brand example. And
Where's the fireplace?
Yeah, that's what you asked when you saw this picture. It does become more like an appliance. I mean, what ends up happening is it becomes something visual to look at. There is some benefit of having the heat, but in this case, it is kind of secondary. I mean, this is a composition in one of our projects that we did where the TV was kind of centered, and then the fireplace, of course, is off to the side. This is another example from House Brand where the fireplace unit is part of an overall millwork composition.
And one of the nice things about doing the direct vent is that it means that you don't have to have that chimney flue, so in this situation, we can actually have a window above it and detail the fireplace as if it's in a cabinet. So so the direct vent is a much more energy efficient way of having a fireplace.
It is, and it's also space efficient, and you can do some cool design stuff. But going back to Barry's question, which is like, why don't we just go back to heating the house? This doesn't do it. Like this provides some heat. You can put a fan on it, but it's not going to provide that sort of sense of warmth and hearth that.
I'm not a big fan of these, I've got to say.
I know you don't like them.
It's kind of like watching the fire logs on television.
I know, John Brown does it.
I know. You know, like kissing your sister. Just not.
I know. It's weird that you don't like them, but I like these because I like incorporating them into.
But you have one. We're going to see that in your house.
I know I have one. But I know you've got a traditional fireplace, so that we should talk about that. But this is where, and then the next example, this is we're seeing a lot of resurgence of this, and these are these. This is a wood burning stove more or less, and this what these do is these provide heat, and their primary purpose is heat. And a lot of architects, we're seeing this in a lot of projects, and we actually have it in one of the House Brand projects coming up that we've incorporated this. And these are set to heat the room. And so this case, I mean, this is that typical 1960s ball type where it hangs in the middle of the space. Notice how it's away from everything, and that's because it radiates heat out and actually is a primary heat source.
Now that's still going to have heat loss when there's no fire in there, right?
Yes, it will, but there are newer ones now that are even more sealed. This is a Danish company called Morso, and the Danes are very successful in building these wood-burning stoves. You can see they're actually using it to heat a kettle to boil water, so that's how hot they get. But this is actually sealed with a glass door. And so the heat loss is very minimized when it's not in use, and when it is in use, I mean, it provides a lot of heat. I mean, it provides so much heat that there's even there are some warnings with it that says, you know, you got to watch the kids around it and stuff like that, because they are red hot to the touch.
I have to say, just before we leave this, I think just noticing, I think there's a really beautiful detail of the way they dealt with the non-combustible surface on the ground, because it's a wood floor,
yep.
And so then they just took a circle of glass and put that around the radius, the minimum radius. It's a beautiful thing.
Beautifully done. And again, the thing that's interesting about these is they are away from the wall. Yeah. We've learned, because we've just installed one in another house, that the wall area actually behind them has to be non-combustible. So behind that drywall is probably concrete.
And presumably there's a flue in the back there.
There is, yeah. It's covering it up. But then this is by Wittus, which is another Danish manufacturing company. And here we're seeing the wood-burning stove combined with architectural detail, which is a bench. So it's a kind of a modern take on the hearth. And again, we're getting these sort of these tend to be more freestanding objects, which I think is interesting. And they add a different character, but they definitely read in the space as heat providing. It's quite different than what you have with a gas insert, which to me becomes more compositional.
I wonder how hot that bench gets. It could be like a griddle.
I know, but I think it would be really nice. Like today, it's -15 in Calgary. I want to sit on that, you know?
Well, I hope, Barry, that helps answer some of your questions. You're in Costa Mesa. I was in California last week. Not something that you really need to worry too much about having a fireplace for heat at the moment. And tomorrow we're going to be having another one of our design minutes.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.